Alright, welcome back to the Public Breakfast Show. This morning we are hosting Minority Leader in Senate and Bungoma Senator Moses Wetangula. He's here with us and is going to be hosted by Mutegi Njau. A host of issues. Our presenter is going to give us an inkling into the CORD agenda for 2017 as well. He also comes from the Western region, so we're going to also discuss Western Kenya politics and, of course, some other allegations that have been leveled against him, which he has categorically denied. And if you have any questions, views, and comments on the same, we welcome them. Our SMS number remains 22422. That number again, 22422. You can send in your questions, your views, and your comments. And also on Twitter, you can continue engaging with us online on the hashtag PowerBreakfast. Mutegi?
Welcome and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Mutegi.
Yes.
Where did you go for Christmas?
I was around here.
Around here, not in
you could have gone to Meru, but well, even here is okay.
That's good.
Now, it looks like this is going to be a very hot year. The way you have started, you started with that statement, the state of the nation, by your group, and it is bringing a lot of reaction.
Yes. We are not a group, Mutegi, we are a coalition.
That coalition, yes.
And this is a critical year, no doubt. This is the year that is going to define the process and the outcome of next elections. We in CORD are preparing ourselves for this critical journey. We want to see a country going to elections on issue-based politics. We want to see that we, as the alternative government, play a critical but positive role in pointing out things that may not be going well in the country. And we expect, whenever we do so, to get credible, reasonable, and respectable answers from our worthy competitors in Jubilee. If you may recall, the State of the Nation overview that we issued at the Serena Hotel touched on various issues. We pointed out issues about the runaway corruption in the country and how we feel the response to and the fight against corruption is inadequate. We pointed out particularly the lingering questions, mega questions about the proceeds of the Eurobond, which is a national borrowing that you and I and everybody else in this country takes responsibility and will pay. You can see already 25 billion has been paid towards the Eurobond. We raised the issue of leveling the playing field and addressing issues that we think need to be addressed as we go towards the next elections, more particularly the listing of new voters, the issuance of identity cards that is strictly controlled by the executive. And
who else can do it? If it's not done by the executive, who should do it?
Of course, I have not said there's an alternative. It is the state that issued IDs.
Yes.
If you mark my words, I said strictly controlled.
Yes.
I didn't talk about issuance. Strictly controlled, to the extent that certain areas are not getting adequate attention in issuance of ID cards or replacement of lost ID cards or both. And this disenfranchises Kenyans from going to participate in elections. We also pointed out the resurgence of bad habits in our public life. You remember in the bad old days when Harambes used to rule the politics of the country, and the reason President Kibaki, in his wisdom, under his leadership, brought devolution through CDF and now devolution under the new constitution, was to inform Kenyans that development matters countrywide from top to bottom must be the responsibility of the state. And it was also quite clear, and you know it, you've been in public life for a long time, that Harambes as a means of development failed. That's why we brought devolution. And Harambes feed on corruption. When I embark on a series of huge Harambes donating millions and millions of shillings without disclosing the source, questions are asked, and those questions are legitimate, and one expects answers. Then what happened? after we issued the statement, and we believe the statement was issue-based, it was factual, we get a response that is aimed at bastardizing us, abusing us, calling us names, and going into unhelpful issues. You know, when a question is asked, and when you are in leadership, questions will be asked about you. What people expect is you must give credible answers.
It depends on how you ask also.
Yes.
As Makamotua wrote last weekend, there is not much difference between the two parties, the two main parties in this country. You ask your questions with traces of insults also. A lot of people said stolen money. You talk about harambis. And
when the money gets lost, what do you call it in English? It is stolen.
And
when
then
you
suggested that the money that the Deputy President is given is stolen money. There is no evidence about that.
The question asked was this, and if you are a lawyer like me, there is a doctrine called res ipsa loquitur. Things speak for themselves. If,
according to you,
if I go around and donate huge sums of money everywhere, every weekend I'm spending an average of 10 to 15, 20 million. Anybody sensible will ask questions. And that's why we say things speak for themselves. And when you give credible answers, people are entitled to draw conclusions.
When it comes to harambis.
Yes.
Are you saying that country leaders don't contribute to harambis?
I'll tell you this. Let me speak for myself. I'm invited to harambes. I do go to harambes. I give very modest contributions by way of issuing a check, and this check comes from
sometimes which can bounce.
Well, I have never bounced a check in my life because I know it's a criminal offense to do so.
Yeah.
I issue a check from my account where my income, salary from the work I do goes, and anybody who wants to know if I went to a school and issued a check of 100,000 or 50,000, that is my ordinary range, they can find out where it's coming from. But if you embark on a process, Mutegi, and you have been in public life for a very long time, you've worked with the Matiba, you've worked with everybody. If every weekend I'm hiring 6 helicopters for a group of my cheerleaders from the political class, because none of those MPs who fly around in choppers, they're called Sky Team, can afford to hire those choppers. They're hired for by the people they go with. Then they go to those harambes and they're all given money to donate. I've seen it publicly. They're lined up and the PA of the boss gives them 50,000, 100,000 each. Some even end up cheating him. I saw one being given 50,000 and he donates 10,000. Thereafter, you give millions.
The justification could be that money.
So let me finish, Mutegi. Then people will ask questions. We know your constitutional salary is 1,200,000.
We are private companies.
We know your businesses.
Yeah.
We have known you all these years. Nobody has
you can get money from your friends.
And we know you have not won any jackpot.
No. You can get money like Obama got money when Obama was campaigning. Got $5 from Orova. That money could be from friends. And
I hope you are not a Jubilee defender.
No, I'm saying.
Obama got
I'm not
money.
defending. That's what they are saying.
Obama got money from well-wishers for a cause. He was campaigning to be the president. I do not believe that there's anybody in this country who will be going to Chumi supermarket, to Nakupa supermarket, and after he gets his money, he drops 100 shillings change in the till and says it's for Weta for Harambes. There's nobody who will do that. But somebody can drop 5 shillings for Weta to campaign for the presidency, which I'm doing. So when you embark on what we are seeing, then questions must be asked. But that is not the issue. The issue is we have blown a whistle and said we believe that this conduct is fueling corruption, that these monies are proceeds of possible corruption. It is then the duty of the state to investigate. The president came up with a very noble idea and said, let's carry out lifestyle audits of individuals. Many of us are available We are an open page. You can carry out a lifestyle audit on Weta from A to Z.
They are saying...
And you will be able to give answers.
They are saying that even the court leader is building a 1.2 billion residence.
Where is he building?
They say in Kisumu.
Because Raila has been building... you know, sometimes you look very bad when you start whistling in the dark instead of answering questions. Raila has been building a house on Kisumu Hill for the last 10 years. It's not even finished. He has not even moved in. If he had the kind of money they are talking about, he would have hired a Chinese contractor and paid on certificates. And within 6 months, he would have moved into his house. I know that house. I've been there. It has been ongoing for the last 10 years. Would you, if you had that kind of money, build a house for 10 years? No, you wouldn't.
Let's go to...
I heard the Moses say, oh, molasses and so on. We are dealing with contemporary issues. We can also go into history, and they all have a history, but we are saying today, under the Jubilee administration, tell us where you have taken the Euroban money. If you give us credible answers, we will be decent enough to go to the public and say, yes, Jubilee has given us the answers, and they make sense.
But they are throwing the ball to your court and saying, look, if you know who has stolen, we have now a fully constitution Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission. We have the DPP, the Direct Public. Go there and tell them, this is so-and-so. The money was stolen by so-and-so. Why can't you do that? That's what they're saying.
That's what they're saying, and I want to tell you this. I'm sure you
answer them.
You know the concept of whistleblowers. A whistleblower is not necessarily a witness. A whistleblower, in the simplest term, is like this. If I have a neighbor with very humble means, lives like any ordinary person in my neighborhood, then within a flash of 2 months, I see my neighbor bring into his compound a V8, a Mercedes 600, brings in every sort of equipment, comes with briefcases that are suspected to be full of money, and I'm watching. I then alert the state and say, the lifestyle of my neighbor has changed to extent that I believe something is not adding up. That is what a whistleblower does. The whistleblower will not then be obligated to go and investigate and find out where the neighbor is getting all this wealth. It is the state to do that. There is a social contract between you and I and the state to carry out duties and responsibilities that satisfy Kenyans. This includes providing you with security, securing your resources, including your taxes, making sure that your resources are put to good use. When you need a road, you get a road. When you need water, you get water. When you need a school, you get a school.
Let's move on.
And when you need the country to develop, you get the country developed. So when I raise questions and say, hey, gentlemen, in my name and your name, you borrowed 250 billion from the Eurobond. It is not unreasonable for me to say this money was meant for infrastructure development. Just tabulate to us and say you did a road from Miharati to Nyeri, you did a road from Bungoma to Uganda border, you did a road from Kitengela to Konza.
Let's move on.
These are the questions we're asking.
Okay.
Is it difficult for Jubilee to give us those? The fact that they don't give us any questions, any answers, can lead to a reasonable conclusion that in fact the money has not been put to good use. That is why the infrastructure they promised cannot be identified, is not visible.
One of the things you raised in the State of the Union...
State of the Nation.
The State of the Nation statement was that Jubilee is planning to steal elections.
Yes.
And you gave reasons why you think so.
Yes.
But Jubilee is saying, no, you have repeatedly said that even before. Raila has said that before in preparation for either chaos, and he used the word arm yourselves. 2, he thinks or he knows that he's going to lose. Therefore, that's why he's raising those things.
Raila said, and it was not his statement, it was a code statement. Raila said that arm yourself to take care of a situation where you must have a credible election. What is to arm yourself? It's not to take a gun, it's not to take a grenade. It is to be mentally alert. And those of you who have not registered as voters, go and register. We even pointed out those who are being convoluted with money. You've seen in Western how our leaders, some of them, are being lured with money to lead huge delegations reminiscent of the old days, to go and pledge some misguided loyalty to an individual, which doesn't make much sense, because nobody has a stock of votes in a store that they keep and eventually unleash on somebody. We told people that look at the issuance of IDs. It is unsatisfactory. Look at the process in which the Jubilee-dominated government, parliament, that is now under the new constitution determinant to the budget process. Last year, you will be shocked to hear this, last year, while the constitution says that election body IEBC must carry out continuous voter listing.
The registration, that is.
Registration. Yeah. Meaning they must be given sufficient budgetary provision for this. Do you know last year, Parliament gave IEBC 18 million for a full year for continuous voter registration. Tell me, Mutegi, even if you went to one constituency like North Horr, that is physically the size of the former Western, Nyanza and Central provinces put together, can you with 18 million be able to traverse that constituency to enlist new voters? These are pre-rigging tactics. You starve IEBC, they are not able to do adequate preparation. Then when the time comes, you give them money, they are ill-prepared, they have not prepared well, they have not planned, or even if they have planned, they have not executed their plans according to their timetable, then they embark on a crash program. Who does that kind of process benefit? That kind of process benefits the incumbency. Number two, we have been asking Jubilee that, well, we have an IEBC, it's a constitutional body, we respect it. But let's sit down as players in the political arena and see whether there's something that we can do and make IEBC better and more efficient.
No, they're saying you want to have a cake.
They themselves
They are saying you want a stake in the government.
I can tell you
that's why you want to
I can tell you for free, and I'll tell
you want
Kenyans
a coalition government.
That nobody in code, in his right frame of mind, would want to go to Jubilee as currently constituted and be contaminated. Nobody. We are interested in giving an alternative breath of fresh air in leadership to Kenyans. We don't want to join a fray of a pool that's already muddied and get part of the mud. We are not interested in that. And I can assure you, and I can assure Kenyans, neither Raila, nor Kalonzo, nor Weta, nor anybody in court is interested in joining Jubilee. They have poached our members, and they have gone. And we've said, we wish Ngaiseri well, we wish Dan Kazungu well. We go to by-election. They took General Ngaiseri, my very good friend. We went to elections, we beat them. They took Dan Kazungu, we're going to a by-election, we will beat them. They have taken Charles Keteri from Kericho, that was their seat, we're going to fight for it. If we were to want to join, and I keep on hearing these insults from people like Duale, Murkomen and others. You know, people who have a desert of ideas will always resort to name calling. And we don't want to degenerate to that kind of politics in this country. When we point out issues, have you heard any of the CORD leaders ask for a lifestyle audit on President Uhuru Kenyatta? We haven't. Because we see his lifestyle, he's not engaged in the obscenities of dishing huge sums of money to amorphous delegations. He's not engaged in obscenities of publicly, visibly and obscenely spending 15-20 million every weekend on so-called harambes. But we have asked the same of his deputy because we see it. If it was somebody else, we'll still ask. Those are factual-based questions. What do we get? Oh, these are thieves. No, these are corrupt. Raila is the doyen of corruption. That is not an answer to the questions we have raised. It is not. And we would want our competitors to address issues that we raise. When we started raising about NYS, did you hear how we were abused? Oh, Wetama tell us about
Japan.
Tokyo.
Yes.
Something that the whole country knows. Oh, Raila must tell us about Kazi kwa Vijana. Something that everybody knows. Kalonzo must tell us about Yatta. Something everybody knows. We told the country that NYS money has been stolen. You saw the... Let me finish, Mutegi. You saw the other day, the newspapers carried a story of an insider lady who says if you are talking of 791 million, it's a tip of the iceberg. The actual money stolen is in fact 21.6 billion. We have been vindicated. People are in court. Those who used to shout from the rooftops about NYS and abusing us and calling us names, I don't know what they can say now. Now that people have been taken to court about NYS.
That's why I'm telling you what Professor Makau Mutua said last week in this article. There's no difference between none of you have any moral ground. Because they're saying you are involved in some certain claims of corruption.
Yes.
Kalonzo Musyoka is claimed to have grabbed NYS.
Yes.
You are supposed to have sold bought whatever in Japan. You are involved in what is called chicken gate.
Chicken.
Is it chicken gate or whatever?
Whatever allegations...
The allegations against you that you were bribed by BAT.
Whatever allegations are raised to Mutegi. The BAT case, in fact, I'm going to court this morning. I've taken BBC to court. I have got that moral high ground to go to court and demand for answers against those who allege against me. I have, in this same studio, talked to you about the so-called Japan issue.
Yeah.
And some of my officers have been taken to court over that matter. Do you, in your heart of hearts, believe that the Jubilee regime would let Weta walk around if there was even a shred of evidence on me? It can't be. The BAT thing, I don't want to preempt a matter. We have an injunction against BBC. We are going to court today for inter-parties hearing. They allege that I was bought a ticket. They didn't even say I was given money. I was bought a ticket to go to London with my wife. And I said I went to London with President Kibaki as his minister for trade, for Olympics, which coincided with Kenya's promotion of investment in London. I have a copy of my ticket that was bought by the ministry, a first-class ticket on British Airways. They say I was bought a business class ticket.
What about your wife?
I did not go with my wife. I did not travel with my wife anywhere. If you buy Muteki Njai a ticket, it is so simple. Even if it's an e-ticket, it will have a serial number. It will have your name. It will have the carrier, the airline. It will have the date of travel, the date of return. It will have the cost of the ticket. It is not difficult for BBC or anybody else to issue that kind of information to the public. BAT themselves have said I've never had any dealings with me in their entire life. I was in Minister of Trade for 8 months and we went to elections. Tell me, Mutegi, if somebody says they bought me a ticket for my wife to go to London, which they didn't because I know they didn't, what is it then that I as minister was supposed to do for them? They don't say it. Because there must be, even in corruption, there's consideration.
Yeah.
You give some Muteki Njau money so that you can go to his studio and he asks you friendly questions for you to look good. What was it I was supposed to do for BAT? Nothing. And I have taken them to court. Why have I gone to court? Because I know my position. And I can tell you here now, Mutegi, there isn't anything that I am afraid of answering or I'm embarrassed to answer or I'm afraid of being asked, because my conscience is very clear on all issues. Of course, our detractors will continue throwing mud, but now what they have been singing sounds like a stuck gramophone record, playing on the same spot and irritating people who listen to the music. It is nothing new.
Well, you have an issue with the Electoral Commission.
That one is not an issue to me either, because I, again, have been invited, and my lawyers, led by James Orengo, have prepared. We are going to meet IBC on 12th, or any date that they will agree on.
And the question they want
the
to answer?
question they want us to answer is whether they can remove my name from the voters or not, or roll or not.
Show cause why you shouldn't.
Show cause why I shouldn't.
Yeah.
My lawyers will show cause. Since it's a quasi-judicial process, I take the matter to be like sub judice, so that I don't delve in it. But I want to tell you for sure that IEBC were part of my petition, and from the High Court to the Court of Appeal to the Supreme Court, they stood on the same side with me, telling the whole country through courts that the election they conducted in Bungoma was free, fair, democratic, credible, free of any incident. That was their position. Secondly,
so when they speak of the Senate, take your name?
This is a process, a legal process that you as a lawyer, a non-lawyer may not understand or appreciate. Yeah. But don't worry,
the public
we are dealing with it. We are going to IEBC and we are going to tell them why it is imprudent and unconstitutional to do what people are thinking can be done, removing me from the voters' roll. Let me not go into any more detail because it is a matter that is coming up before the IEBC. They have a committee. My lawyers will argue the course that we have been asked to show.
Are you going to be a presidential candidate next year?
I am not going to be. I am a presidential candidate. It's not a futuristic.
For which party?
You don't know the party I lead?
Not CORD.
CORD is a coalition of parties.
So you'll be...
I lead a party called Ford Kenya.
So you
know very well.
Yes, so
even in your area, in 1992, your MP was a Ford Kenya MP. You remember?
No, I know Kiraito Morongo.
Kiraito was a Ford Kenya MP, Kitobi Manyara was a Ford Kenya MP, and one of those was your MP. You know that?
None of them.
Yes.
Anyway.
I am a leader of a party called Ford Kenya, which you know.
So you will be...
My brother Raila is a leader of a party called ODM. My brother Kalonzo is a leader of a party called Wiper. I have been nominated, and I have graciously accepted the nomination by my party to be a presidential candidate. So as we speak, I am a presidential candidate. Our parties have also indicated, and rightly so, that CORD as a coalition should hold together. So CORD as currently stands has 3 presidential candidates: Raila Odinga, Kalonzo Musyoka, and yours truly. A mechanism is being worked out by our various teams on how we will arrive at the ultimate presidential candidate. I am a candidate, Raila is.
So you are not ultimate?
Neither is Raila, neither is Kalonzo. Ultimate will come through the process. You can't subject yourself to a process and then declare yourself ultimate. You must be true to democracy. That at the end of the day, I confidently believe I'll be the card bearer of CORD in the next elections. I'm sure my brother Kalonzo does. I'm sure Raila does. One of us will be. I believe
it doesn't look like you're preparing to be the ultimate.
Well,
if you compare yourself and what Raila is doing and what you are doing, the margin is big.
Where I come from, we have a saying that when you are cooking, there is a pot that bubbles throughout as you cook. It will give you ready food. There's another pot when you are cooking that doesn't bubble at all. It still gives you ready food at the end of the cooking. So don't look at the form, look at the substance. You don't know my programs, you don't know my level of preparedness, you don't know my level of preparation. What you should have done is to ask me whether I am in the process and I'm preparing, other than saying that I'm doing nothing, because you don't know what I'm doing.
I'm comparing what is happening, what I can see with the other candidates, compared to what you are doing.
That I am not standing on rooftops to pronounce doesn't mean I am not doing anything. You wait, watch this space, as the English say, and you will see.
Where you come from, Western Kenya, the Baluya people.
The Luya Nation.
The Luya Nation.
Yes.
There's how many candidates who want to be presidential candidates?
Don't worry about how many candidates there are. And when you people...
And where do you fare?
And when sometimes I feel very amused when I'm asked that question, because last elections, the Kikuyu Nation, so to speak, had how many candidates? There was Peter Kenneth, Martha Karua, there was Uhuru Kenyatta, there was a fourth one. I can't remember the name, perhaps they were insignificant. The Luya Nation has people who have declared intention to run for the presidency. Musalia Mudavadi, who we believe from his demeanor and his conduct appears to be more inclined towards working with incumbency.
Why do you say that? Because this is a wild allegation.
It is not a wild allegation. Immediately lost elections, he rushed to them and signed an agreement with them. He has not abrogated that agreement. It's still in force. And we see him in his relation to Jubilee as friendly fire. That is my opinion. I'm entitled to it.
Sure.
Yes. We have Cyrus Jirongo has formed a new party and declared that he has an intention. It is his right. Then you have yours truly here, who has walked the length and breadth of my primary constituency, and you just go there and ask the ordinary person at a bus stop, at a primary school, anywhere, who they see as their beacon of hope, and they will tell you. I don't have to blow my trumpet.
That's not the whole entire Western. Yes. Maybe in Bungoma.
You go to Kakamega, go to Vihiga, go to Busia, go to Trans Nzoia, and I'm not, by the way, you must disabuse yourself of this. I am not running for the presidency as a Luhya president. I am not.
But you have to have.
I am fully aware that for you to become the president of this country, you need much more than your community. But you must have a primary constituency, which I have. So does everybody else who are credible contenders. Ruto has a primary constituency, Raila has a primary constituency, Kalonzo has a primary constituency, Uhuru has a primary constituency, Weta has a primary constituency, and you know it. You may sit in the studio of Citizen and not know what is going on out there. Just venture out there and you will hear.
That is the press.
And you will know.
We have the radios, we have TVs. That.
You've even seen pollsters.
Yes.
Who from the Mlembe Nation is rated in the pollsters.
So you're understanding that you command the majority of people in the
Luhya Nation. I have a very strong following in the Luhya Nation. Fully supported by my brother Senator Khalwale and others. I can tell you, you just go and talk to the ordinary person.
I don't think the governor of Bungoma would say the same.
The governor of Bungoma cannot say the same for reasons that you know, and he's my least worry.
But is the governor controlling the whole?
He is my least worry. I can tell you for sure that I am not standing for the president because the governor of Bungoma is against me. Things don't work that way. When you are a positive thinking politician, you address issues that add value to you, not reduce value to you. Of course, you don't ignore them. But if you preoccupy yourself with what reduces your value, then you will not add your value anywhere. Move on. I am not worried at all. It doesn't even, if I have any worries in my life, the governor of Bungoma is my least worry. I went to elections, I won. I went to a by-election, I won. Go to Bungoma today and ask people what they think of their Senate, and they will tell you. You don't even need to give them prior questions. But that is not the issue. The issue is, I am a presidential candidate looking for the leadership of this country. I lead a party that is national in character, national in outlook.
You have given me
national in spread.
You have given me examples when Ford Kenya used to have members of parliament in the rest of the country.
Yes.
When you mentioned a number of them,
yes.
Murungi,
yes.
Manyara.
Yes.
Where are you spread now?
For your information,
yes.
The MP for Kisumu Town West, Olaga Lodge, is Ford Kenya. The MP for Awendo is Ford Kenya.
Outside Nyanza.
The MP for Lungalunga, Coast Province, the deputy party leader of Ford Kenya, Hatib Mwashetani, is Ford Kenya. The senator of Turkana, Senator John Munyes, is the national chairman of my party. He's a member of Ford Kenya. The MP for Turkana East is Ford Kenya. The majority leader in Wajir Assembly is Ford Kenya. The chief whip in Garissa Assembly is Ford Kenya.
Nobody in Eastern.
In Meru, I have 2 MCAs in Meru, in Tigania. I have a spread everywhere. Maybe you don't know because you have paid little attention to my party. But if you did, you'll get to know how well spread we are. The senator of Nyamira in Kisii, Senator Kennedy Mongare, is Ford Kenya. And I can count on and on and on. We are a national party within a national coalition competing for space within that coalition and within the length and breadth of our nation. And we are going to make a difference. And I can assure you, Mutegi, that all these challenges the country is facing, lack of accountability, the retrogress on the implementation of the Constitution. Look at what's going on with the so-called tyranny of numbers. We are destroying the office of the Auditor General. We are destroying the judiciary.
When that judiciary,
we are destroying the police. We have a history.
When the amendment, miscellaneous amendment, was made to change the Judicial Service Commission Act,
yes,
to allow the president to have a say in the appointment of the Chief Justice.
Yes.
And the Speaker asked whether any of the leaders, although I know you are not a member of the National Assembly, yes, when it was done, nobody raised the issue.
Let me tell you, Mutegi, I have in fact investigated this matter. I have talked to members of the legal committee, where including Olaga Alwoch from my party is a member. We have Devo Cheng from the code members who are there. Throughout the process at the committee stage, not the committee stage, at the parliamentary committee hearings and the processing of the bill, the issue of giving power to the president to hire Chief Justice was not there. It was sneaked into the final committee stage on the floor, by Chief Konga,
yes,
who I'm sure was probably pursuing and executing a conspiratorial process. Committee stages in Parliament sometimes come when there are very few members. People are taken unawares. They are not aware that this was coming, because when the matter has been gone through the process, people know. Leadership like myself are alerted. We call PGs, we give direction, we give opinions, and we tell them this is the way to go. Take the case of the Auditor General. When it came to the Senate, there were two bills, the Auditor General and the one on public procurement. We defeated Jubilee as code. Then they procrastinated around and beat a retreat and laid an ambush while we were on recess. And you tell me whether this is a sensible and rational process of doing things. While we were on recess, the Speaker and the Majority Leader, in what I believe is a conspiracy, hardened Jubilee senators and some of our own, who may not have gone to State House, but were reached and influenced. They took senators to State House. A very ignominious and shameful thing, because the legislature is independent of the executive. If members of Parliament can be herded to State House to be influenced before they go to Parliament, shame on this country. They went to State House. Then, after agreeing and sealing the secrecy, the Majority Leader writes to the Speaker at 4 p.m. and requisitions a special sitting. On the same day at 5, the Speaker issued a Gazette notice. By 6, the Gazette notice is out that we are sitting the next day. We are on recess. My members are out of the country. I know even our Chief Whip, Senator Mudama, was out of the country on holiday because Parliament had officially closed. The following day we sit. I put up a very strong spirited fight. Postpone this matter so that we can have adequate notice. I even asked the Speaker, where is this lightning efficiency? A request is made at 4, a Gazette notice issued at 5, and the following day we are sitting. I've never seen this. And even as a leader in the House, Mutegi, normally I have requisitions for special sittings. I take the courtesy of informing Kithure Kindiki as the opposite leader. I take the courtesy of going to sit with the Speaker and telling him, Mr. Speaker, I have requisitions this, but call my counterpart so that we agree on the modus operandi. Even if he doesn't agree with what I want to say, he must be in the know. Totally in the dark. They come, and to let the cat out of the bag, Murkomen stands on the Senate floor and says, we didn't come here for debate. We didn't come here for an argument. We didn't come here to do anything other than to vote. We are voting machines. Switch on the machine, we vote, we go. They did. and within 3 hours, the bill had been ascended to. What does the bill want to do? To take away the power of a constitution, the most important accountability office in the country, the Auditor General's office, that must be able to scrutinize public expenditure, whether I was the president, you are the president, or anybody else is the president. We must be open to scrutiny. One, they're creating an office called Deputy Auditor General. You know very well, if the Constitution wanted to create an office of Deputy Auditor General, or Deputy Attorney General, or Deputy Control of Budget, they would have done so. That they didn't has a philosophy world over. They've created an office of Deputy Auditor General, of course, to cause competition and confusion in the office of the Auditor General. They have then taken away the power and authority of the Auditor General's office to hire staff. If the staff of the Auditor General are going to be hired by Public Service Commission, and you know the terms and conditions of Public Service Commission and how they work, yet the Constitution says constitutional officers like the Auditor General are not subject to the direction, influence, or control of anybody. If you hire staff for me, you are influencing the work I do. You are controlling the work I do. Is that the office of the Auditor General we want? No. But what happened? Within 3 hours of the passage of that bill, in very controversial circumstances, it was ascended to.
Well, even former president.
The police.
The former president.
The police.
The former president Moi. You remember President Moi? He created Auditor General corporations when he could not agree with the...
Exactly. I think that is the history that informed the passage of the new constitution. That we don't want to go back to those dark days where, because corporations are the avenues and conduits of pilfering and misapplication of public funds, have a different Auditor General whom we can control. And that Auditor General was lame duck. He could be fired at 1 o'clock news on radio, and you know how things used to happen. That is why we have a new constitution. That's why we have insulated public officers from state control, public officers from executive control. Even in my presidency, I would want the Auditor General to audit me and point out where I have not done right. I would want the Office of the Inspector General to act without my direct influence. If I hire you, of course, you owe it to me. But if you are hired through a process where you can stand on your own and discharge your responsibilities. You remember the days when in this country, to be an opposition politician was like being a criminal without any criminal charge? Because the state controlled the police. A police inspector or inspector general, as the case may be, can be called and be told, Muteki Njau is growing horns, go and cut off those horns. And you'll be haunted like a thief.
What about the argument,
the
argument by Kagwanja saying that how can he be independent? If he is giving instruction because of security, that he must give instruction by the president, who is the commander-in-chief, he cannot be independent.
That is argument by Kagwanja. I know Kagwanja very well. That argument does not hold water. The independence of an office is not about standing on your own against the state, but being able to work and act without undue influence or pressure from anybody. When does undue influence bear on people? Because of the manner in which they get appointed and the manner in which they leave office. If you know very well that by going to act in a certain manner, I will suffer no consequences, then you will not do it. Look at the case of my good friend and sister Anna Waiguru, and God help her in her tribulations. When we started pointing out what was happening, the CID started investigating the matter. They finished, and they called her to sit there as they released the report of investigations, when we had consistently and persistently said she is the prime suspect. That is lack of independence. When things happen in a manner that you do not, as a rational and reasonable Kenyan, expect to happen, that is lack of independence. We want, for example, a case where, I can give you a case from Ireland. The Attorney General of Ireland did not know that an IRS suspect was hiding in his servant's quarters. The police investigated and raided his home and arrested this man. He promptly resigned even as he didn't know. We live in a country today and we're cascading towards a situation where it is not possible for the police, for example, to go and search a house of a security minister when they are looking for clues to a crime. Yet it should happen. That is the independence. Why? Because the manner in which you come into office and the manner in which you leave office is what gives you the ability to act freely, fairly to all. But when you have to look over your back to see whether who appointed you can sack you at 1 o'clock, there's no way you can make some decisions that will make him uncomfortable or will hurt his interests. Because, like we have said before, Jubilee have a lot of political debts to pay. And part of those debts they're paying is what we see, the spiral of runaway corruption. Because they're not able to tackle corruption. The consumers, the purveyors, and the perpetrators of corruption are those that they owe debts.
We have run out of time on Senator, but people are claiming that the president has done something about it. Thank you very much.
He has done very little about it.
Thank you very much. Yes. We're running out of time.
Yes.
I wish we had more time. We can discuss much more about that. But we leave it to the viewer to determine who is telling the truth. ODM or CORD, TNA or Jubilee. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mutegi, and have a good day.